Okay, welcome back to Grow New Plants. So today I'm going to do a follow-up to a video that I did where I pruned back some of my African violets that had gotten kind of unruly or just had suckers on them, and now I got a bunch of leaves left. So that was a Columbus Platinum that I actually split into two different plants. So I've got a whole pile of leaves left that I took off of this plant, and I'll put a link up at the top if you want to watch that video, and that's where all these leaves came from. So I've got quite a selection of leaves here, and I've actually already put leaves down for this plant, but I want to show you how I would go about selecting leaves off of a plant when I do this. So I'm going to show you a couple examples of ones that I probably wouldn't use. That one, that leaf is it was an old leaf. It's kind of wilty, and it doesn't have a real thick stem on it. I probably would not use that one. You want a good mature leaf. That's actually a pretty healthy leaf right there. It's nice and plump. It's got a nice thick stem on it. So that's probably one that I would pick. That one actually is it's a little distorted because it was growing underneath, but it would probably be okay. These are pretty young, so I probably wouldn't use those. So probably out of this, say I was going to pick, that's a good healthy leaf right there. Got a nice thick stem on it. It's stiff. That's actually a pretty good one too, but it's a huge leaf. But I'm going to show you in a second how we can fix that. So, but these little ones, that's a real spindly, soft stem on it. Probably don't want to use that one. Don't want to use these real young ones, and don't want to use the super old leaves on there. So that's kind of how I go about picking out my leaves. So I've already got leaves stuck of this one, so I'm going to come back and we'll stick, this is a Cajun's pink negligee. Oh, I'll take that back. We're going to do, because I already marked my pots for this one. So I've got a numbering system for all my violets that I use. And so that means I know that's a Ness's orange Pico. So I've got a spreadsheet with all my numbers in there. So we're going to take these leaves right here, and we're going to stick all four of these leaves. And I kind of already did that process. I went through and separated out the ones that I wanted. So the problem with this, if you go and stick these leaves in these pots when they're that big, you have so much space taken up, and you don't need them to take up that much space. So what I do is I'll come in with that leaf and I'll cut it off maybe about 2/3 down, and then cut the corners off, and I'll cut my leaf down to that, and it will do absolutely fine. I've got an example here I'll show you in a second to show you that this does not hurt it. I've been taught it by some people that you don't cut them down until they start growing roots, but I've started cutting them down right when I stick them, and I've never had any issue. Never seen any difference in being a full leaf or a cut leaf. They still do just as well. So I got these leaves cut down to a manageable size now. I've got my African violet mix over here. So I just fill it up, tamp it down just a little bit. You don't want it super loose because you want it to make good contact, but you don't want it packed in there so tight that roots can't grow through it either. So I got my 4 pots here. Okay, so these are cut down, ready to size. Now this is, I'll try and make sure that you can see this well on the video. I think you can. So basically what you want to do, if it's got a real short stem, it's not going to work on you, but these stems are fine. So I just have a razor blade, and I buy these things by the case. They're not that expensive. I just buy a case of them. That way I've always got fresh, clean razor blades. And you just come in here in an angle. I'll do this from different angles to make sure you can see it. And you just very gently cut through that thing to make a 45-degree cut like that. And I've seen people say you need to let them sit and dry out before you stick them in the dirt. I've never done that, and I've never had an issue. They always root for me. So, and then you just come in, and I just come in kind of out of the corner and just gently stick it down in that dirt and pack it down a little bit, and that leaf is stuck. Okay, so I'll do this one from a different direction. So very gently, just kind of run your razor blade across there, make that nice 45-degree cut, stick it down in your pot, just put a little bit of pressure on it. Oops, knock that one over. Okay, so we come back in here, just a nice slicing cut. Don't try and push it like that, slice it like that, and it'll make a nice clean cut. That's what you're looking for, just a nice clean cut on that thing. And then just stick it down in that soil very gently. Press it down just to hold it in place. That stem's pretty short, but I can still make it work. It's a nice slicing cut. Stick it down in there. Hold it. You don't want to stick them straight in the ground, but you don't want to put them such a slight angle that they're gonna, you don't want that stem, that tip of that stem to stick up above the dirt. So, and then I just take a bowl. I have this big wide bowl that I use for this all the time. And I just stick them in a bowl, and I'll show you the reason that I use the bowl in a minute. So I just stick all these in here, and then I have this, it's like a 32 ounce, I guess, just a condiment jar that I got from a restaurant supply. And I just come in and very gently water, and this is just tap water here. I don't use any fertilizer the very first time I water them in, because it's kind of wasteful, because you run water through, you know, basically I run enough water in there until the water starts running out the bottom good, just to make sure that I've got all the soil saturated good. And then after that, anytime I re-water them after that, I use my water mixed with my fertilizer. Every time I water my plants, leaves, plants, babies, full-grown plants, I use a diluted fertilizer mixed in my water every single time, and I've had great results with it. So basically I just keep doing that, and if you see that water is running down inside of that bowl a little bit, so that's helping, that water will soak up through the bottom of that pot too. Any excess water that goes in the bottom, some of it will soak up through the bottom, and it'll get those good and saturated. So that's pretty much all there is to sticking these things. That's what we call it, sticking leaves, but that's pretty much all there is to it. Now, the next step in this to help make sure that you get good starts is you need a good tray. Okay, I'm going to slide these out of the way. And so I use these are Bootstrap Farmer, and they're a short tray, but they're super rigid. I mean, you can put bricks on that one side, so they're really good trays. I really like using these. I've been using them ever since I started growing the African violets, and they work great. So basically, you're just going to take these things and you're just going to start stacking them in here. And when my leaves start, I usually put them all the way in. I can get 50 on one of these trays, these 2-inch pots. It just depends on how you arrange them. And a lot of times, like if I'm sticking a bunch of plants, I'll do a miniature plant, you know, a mini or a semi-miniature or something next, and that way I can kind of put them in between these bigger leaves. So basically you just stick those in there, and then I have a dome here. So when I get done with them, and I'll fill this whole tray up, but I'm just kind of showing you this for demo purposes. And I'll put this dome on here, and I just got the holes cracked, you know, about halfway open. And these things will stay wet for, I mean, leaves usually I water them maybe once every 2 weeks, but you just have to see, depending on the temperature where you're at, just check them, pick them up every once in a while, pick a individual pot up. If it feels light, it needs water. If it doesn't feel light, you know, it's still heavy and looks moist, it's fine. So it'll hold the moisture in there for a long time. And then you leave these things in here for probably, I would say 8 to 10 weeks, then you should have baby plants coming up. And I've got one example over here I wanted to show you of one that, this is a leaf that I stuck, I think probably a little over 2 months ago. And this is what it's turned into. There's no telling, there's probably 4 or 5 good baby plants in there. And these are really pretty much about ready to be separated. And if you look right here, that's the original leaf that these came off of. And that's where I cut that leaf back. And that leaf still looks just as healthy as the day that I put it in there. And it made babies just fine. So cutting the leaves back just to save room in your trays works great. So anyway, that's really all there is to it. So if you want to watch the video that I got these leaves off of, I'll have both of these posted, and you can link between the two of them. I appreciate you watching. You got any questions, let me know. Some of the materials that I use in there, if there's Amazon links, I'll put them down in the description too. I appreciate you watching. Please like, please subscribe, and share my videos. Thank you.